What's good, GDOC 2020? Now, if you are a developer, there's that urge, that desire to try something new, right? To create something that hasn't been made before. But considering that there's so much that already exists, that can be a bit of a challenge. So, our next speaker is going to give you the inside scoop on what you can do to make sure that your game is truly unique. Our speaker, Salman, is an indie developer who started out by developing and producing his own stuff in just a matter of days. He got his industry start at a game studio called Madbox, and then he went independent to focus on his own products, like BB Blaster, which is a game where dogs control spaceships like toys. Give it up for Salman Shurie.
Hi, my name's Salman, and I'm ready to present forming ideas for games that you don't have. All right, okay. Who am I? I'm an independent developer. I tend to rapidly prototype due to my history in participating in so many game jams, and also having limited time in order to try to make as many a game as fast as possible in order to not go broke completely. And I ended up developing a bunch of skills that ended up being really useful to me in the future, or presently, yeah. And ended up giving me experience into developing hyper casual games, trying to develop games as soon as like within a span of 2-3 days, and making it a full game within 2 weeks. And from that, I ended up trying to develop art skills, because I was a broke college kid and I did not have enough money to pay other actual experienced artists to do my art. Okay, so before I get started on talking about the techniques, let's set the scene. Right, you're sitting there. You've got a limited amount of time to make a game. You're sweating. You suddenly have 3 cups of coffee. You're just sitting there shaking. And what do you do? Okay, what happens next? It's been 30 seconds. You just started packing your bags. It's over. You got nothing coming to you. Suddenly, I come in and say, I have something for you. But before I could finish my sentence, in frustration, you blow my eardrums out. You you tell me to leave and not ruin your concentration to figure out an idea. Okay. I tell you to calm down. And you calm down while I'm trying to block my ear from bleeding even more than it should. I tell you I need medical attention, but you tell me, please stay. Please tell me what you need to do. You've given up all hope, and somehow you saying please has healed me. My skin is clear. I'm suddenly able to sing really good. I can reach the high notes, so I can sing like Mariah Carey now all of a sudden. Okay, so let's break it down. Okay, as I say it, Angel starts humming in the background, and I start floating for some reason, and the GIF didn't load. Oh, it did. Okay, I'll get to the point now. So the main things that I used, the 4 ways that I break down the ways to figure out an idea, is genre fusion, learning driven, a theme or fantasy, or minimal input. Those help to bring out to the ideas as many ideas that you would not expect. All right, let's get started on the first one. So genre fusion, yes. Let's say you could come up with any idea, but it's good to sometimes have a starting point. So to let your imagination go wild. For example, what could you think of if you combined Metal Gear and Cookie Clicker? What about if you combined Beat Saber and added Cooking Mama and made it somehow work with Cooking Mama? Imagine you standing there in VR cutting steak, I don't know, vegetables, and suddenly slamming them into a bowl or something. All right, but there's another thing as well, which you combine different genres. What would you get if you combined let's say, a card game with tennis. Like, how would you how would you play tennis, right? Or what about a trivia game with but battle royale? What could you come up with that? Maybe a bunch of Fall Guys, I don't know, writing, touching phones, battling each other somehow. And okay, yeah, we get the gist. And as an example of like my own example of that would be like combining tic-tac-toe and try to make a bullet hell game out of that. I tried to make a roguelike out of it, and I would say it's quite a fun exercise. Or maybe let's say combine the area painting of Splatoon and adding little cars to it. You get something crazy like a bunch of dads playing with their kids' toys and using the leftover food that they didn't eat as paint, just to find out who's the best dad. Okay, so another technique is learning driven. So let's say you want to learn something new, and but you're not sure how to tackle it. So new ideas can come from that, such as let's say you wanted to write something with twine. You want to make something interesting or narrative. You end up building something interesting out of that without knowing. Maybe a game about maybe grapple hooks. Let's say you wanted to figure out shader effects to draw like the weirdest, scariest looking monster you could possibly come up with. But or I don't know, VR. Maybe you just want to try out new platforms, and that could. And one of my own examples was I was trying to figure out different kinds of physics joints. I ended up making a little grappling hook platformer that people are every few weeks messaging me saying, "Where is the full game? Give me the full game." All right. Next example. Okay, so the next technique that I should mention is theme and fantasy. So these could bring actually a lot more benefits that you can expect. So as soon as you have like one idea, let's say you're sliding down a mountain off a skateboard on your back, what you could end up it could end up influencing different aspects of your development. It could affect the UI, maybe like the interface is like some guy just standing there and just pointing at his phone as the main menu, and then starting off by and then pressing start game and suddenly putting your phone away and then sliding down. Yeah, it could be. But the thing with the theme and fantasy is you're trying to figure out something that's not usual, that you can't do in real life. You know, as the example I mentioned, sliding down a mountain on your back. Maybe was it surviving in a scary island by yourself? What could come from that? What kind of game could that bring to you? Maybe you could explore a genre, so horror game, but you're in an empty game server. Shout out to No Players Online. Okay, yeah. And so an example of what I did with something like that is you're a golf ball with a gun. What yeah, instead of playing with a stick, you're playing with a gun. And the ball does it itself. Or maybe you're a guy with a scary face and you're being held hostage. Somehow you find an empty gun and you have to scare these bloodthirsty hostage takers. You're trying to just get your way out of there. Okay. Minimal input. So limitation can breed creativity. So what can you do with, let's say, tapping or sliding? What could you try to do with I don't know, tapping on beats? Maybe that you could come up with something like Guitar Hero. Maybe let's say, how would you play something like any of those the game series with DJ Hero? The idea, the mechanics of the game can come from the limitations that you give yourself. So that could come from the touch. Maybe you're having to do something with touch. Maybe you have to do something with a controller. Maybe you have to do something with motion. That could also help in giving you a nice idea. And for example, in my case, I ended up doing something like one of my main projects called BB Blaster, where the whole game is played basically with a tap from the perspective of being a little dog that can mercilessly defeat enemies' spaceships around it by just tapping and just getting within range to attack them. Or maybe you could be making, or my other game, which I tried to do the same thing with, but in this case, you're playing golf, except you tap to punch the little golf ball down and jump. All right. But there's something that I haven't told you that's very important. I'm sorry I have to tell you this. Right? Yeah. Okay. Ideas are worthless without execution. So it doesn't matter how good your idea is. Having being able to put your vision to paper is the most important thing. If no one can see the idea, was it worth it in the end? Was that 50% from some random person on the internet who just contacted you to make an app for them, saying, "I got a nice idea, but I'll take 90%." Is that worth it? No. You got. Yeah. I hope this is you're able to take something useful out of this talk. Yeah. So is that good?
Oh man, thank you so very much. I mean, I think the big thing, and I'm a creator. I write comedy and stuff like that, but I think sometimes the issue is that there's so much that's available to us that we kind of want to do everything at once. And like you were saying, sometimes when you limit your scope of what you have available, you're forced to become even more creative because you only have a limited amount of tools. So then you start thinking in different ways. And clearly, just the way that you go about your game design and just like idea creation is very much like improv. You're like, okay, if this, then what? Which I think is just a really great way to, come up with new ideas. And like, I mean, you're punching to play golf. I mean, I've never seen that before, and I don't think that we will again. So I mean, you're onto something, my friend. Thank you very much for that. Just that really candid look at how you come up with games. So it's much appreciated. All right. If you are developing your own games and you're coming up with some crazy stuff that you want to share with the world, comment, share it up, like this, and keep it locked in because we got much more.